We are not alone. You are watching Contact TV with your hosts, Lesley Mitchell-Clark
and Wes Roberts,
exploring ufology, metaphysics, and beyond with the world's foremost experts.
And so I'm going to introduce the show and talk about Lesley, then I'll bring you in, and that'll take 2 or 3 minutes, okay? So hello, everyone. This is Wes Roberts for Contact TV. I am sitting in the big chair tonight for the host, Lesley Mitchell-Clark. Lesley is facing a bit of a family emergency this evening and asked me if I could do the show, and absolutely. I'm talking to our guest tonight, and both of us are experiencers and abductees, although we've had many, many different experiences. And she is now a recurring guest. So once again, I'll be doing the show on behalf of Lesley Mitchell-Clark, who sends her regrets. And we're lining up a couple of shows for next month. So I'm sure you'll catch those when we come along. This is Contact TV. You can catch us on our YouTube channel. You can catch us on Facebook. You can catch us on Instagram. We ditched the idea of Twitter a little while ago, maybe for obvious reasons that you might think, or maybe for non-obvious reasons. Anyways, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Myself, you can get a hold of me in terms of Wes at wesgroberts.com. And Lesley, in terms of Lesley at lightworkhypnosis.com. So our guest tonight is an author, an experiencer, an abductee, an all-around fascinating person who's been through a lot. And up to now, she really doesn't mind talking about some of the things she's been through. In that respect, I think she's a lot like myself when I get on the air and talk about what I've been through. But what Lisa Savoy has been through really exceeds any of the stuff I've been through in terms of severity or perhaps trauma, but she'll be able to tell you about that. She has a couple of books. She can be reached. Hopefully there are others watching who want her on their show and want to know about how they can get hold of her books. So without further ado, I'm welcoming this evening, and we're taping this on April 5th, Lisa Savoy. Welcome.
Hello, and thank you for having me on your show.
Second time. We love recurring guests, so thanks for coming back. So we had talked just before the show started taping about some of the things you'd like to chat about. So there are the books, and there are recurring experiences. And I know I'm going to have a question or two from the standpoint of a fellow experiencer. So start wherever you like, and we'll take it from there.
Okay. Well, my first book I have out is about my experiences ever since I was 3.5. And my first ones I made contact with is the Greys. And I'll tell you about my first experience with the objects I've seen in field and my first encounter with the Greys.
Great.
And I remember at that time, I was 3.5 years old. I used to live in Galt, Ontario. And we used to live in a 2-story row house. And one time I was downstairs in the living room. My mom was busy doing something in the kitchen, so I got up. I went out the front door. As I stood out my front door, I turned to the right. I walked down the street a little ways. It was a little ways to get down there. And as I walked down the street, I found there's like a train tracks on a man-made hill. And as I walked down, there's a little bit of an opening underneath this hill, the train tracks going over it. And as I went through there was this huge field. I mean, big. It was a really large field. So I stepped into the field. I took a turn to the right. As I walked further in the field, I noticed I seen something in the sky. It looked like the sun, but it was moving to the right. It go from white, orange to red. It'll change different colors. And I moved a little bit to the right. Then it stopped. It hovered for a bit. And then it started getting closer to me. As it started getting close to me, it got a little larger. But the color changed. It just went to like there's lights going all the way around it. Like lights just going around it. And it had a black ring going around it as well. And it just kept getting closer to me and closer to me to the point it changed again. And no longer had lights on it or the ring. It's like a really shiny copper. And it had a really reflective surface, like a smooth surface. And just to the point it got really big. And that's all I remember at that point. Things kind of went blank. And I didn't realize too how long, I guess I was missing for hours. But anyways, I remember after I was back on the field, I decided to go home. So I was walking down the street. I ran into these kids I used to know. And they're saying to me, where have you been? Your parents have been looking for you for hours. You're in so much trouble. And I thought, what are you talking about? I was not gone that long. I mean, it's not that far down the street. You know, I shouldn't be gone that long. So I got home. So I stepped in the door. My parents are there saying, where have you been? Looking for you for hours. We looked for you everywhere, and we couldn't find you. And I thought, what is going on here? I was confused, you know? What's going on here? So they're angry. They told me to go to my room. I was hungry and tired. I just want something to eat. And they told me I had to go to the room. And totally confused and a little angry with my parents. But anyways, after that, not so long, there's this one night I was in bed and something woke me up. So I sat up. I noticed my room, the temperature dropped, and the wall back of the room across me was turning black. I mean, pitch black, and the temperature was dropping a little, not to the point it was freezing, just to the point like felt like, you know, like air conditioning, which we didn't have back then. And I noticed beings stepped right through where the wall should have been. They didn't frighten me, you know, their parents, they didn't frighten me. I was very curious, but they were 3.5 feet tall. They had large black eyes, gray skin, no hair, had 2 holes for a nose, slit for a mouth, and they had no ears. I wasn't afraid of them. I got up and I started talking to one of them. I asked him who he was. I gave him a name. No response. Like, how did you get in my room? No response at all. I even put my hand out, you know, offers a friend handshake. No response. He just looked down at my hand and looked up at me, and still no response. Nothing out of him. Then all of a sudden, the atmosphere started changing. Like it's kind of creepy. He kind of looked at me and right down to my toes and up into my eyes again. And it didn't feel right. And there's 8 of them. Half of them stepped way over to my left side, and the other half stepped over right to my right side. And after they'd done that, all of a sudden, I felt this energy going through me and around me. I couldn't move. I couldn't even move my eyes. And same time I was being picked up off the floor, I can feel myself being forward towards the wall where it was all black, just being lifted that direction. I was terrified. I couldn't move. I couldn't twitch a finger. And the more I tried to move, it hurt really bad because I was fighting it. It was causing pain. And my breathing was getting really difficult. I couldn't scream, so I did in my mind. Like I want to, but I couldn't. So I just screamed in my mind. I cried for my mommy to the point I blacked out. And that's all I remember from them the first time.
So I think this bears some examination, because I always ask myself when I go through something, what were the circumstances? What did it mean to me? Was there a physical temperature change and things like that? So
Oops, you froze. Oh, we lost Lesley.
sorry, my gosh, I'm gonna have to edit this. This Zoom just cut out on me. I will edit that out. So I have found, Lisa, and I don't know if this was the case with you, that an ordinary situation turned into an extraordinary one. So that's one of the first things. Like, it's not all, I was vividly going to the stars in space. Sometimes it could be ordinary turning into extraordinary. That some of us experience missing time, and we can certainly talk about that because it's such a valid global thing. And also the physical temperature, I have to say from my own experience, makes me think of ghosts, because when there are spirits and ghosts in in a room or in wherever you're at, they generally make themselves, well, we sense that they are there because the temperature drops. And it's not a typical temperature drop. It's not like it's 20 Celsius or it's 10 Celsius. It's a very different kind of feeling, very different kind of cold feeling. So
Yes.
can you think of a reason why the experience happened when it did, and why there might have been several entities?
I often think of that. Like, I'm not really sure. Like, every time I remember, it's the way a child thinks, but I'm trying to think as the reason why. So I do too. Like, I try to think reason why it's going on today. Like, but I'm not really sure. To be honest, like people said, could it be ghosts? I don't know because I touched them before. They feel very solid. They appear to be breathing. So I never had experiences when they have me on a table. They get so close to me, I can feel them breathing on me.
Wow. Okay.
Creepy. So I don't know. Are they dimensional beings? Like, are they like from space, like using some type of gateway? I don't know. Like, I always thought maybe they're using a portal. I don't know. It's a
Have you, I know he's not the only one that uses this term, but we recently interviewed Grant Cameron,
yes.
and we did 2 interviews with him. So Grant's a fascinating guy. He talked about Sendras or Kendras, starts with an X, as a little piece of space-time that aliens manipulate
Okay.
so that they can travel to you or you can access them. And to me, it sounds like they did sort of a miniature chamber in your room. The walls were black, like flat on the walls, or did the black extend into the room?
Trying to think. Like, as a child, the wall was across me, so I couldn't really tell. But now you mentioned that when I had the counter of that tall gray I told you about earlier, though it did seem to extend a little bit, not a whole lot, but just a little bit. That's the first time I ever noticed that. Yeah. So that's interesting how you said that, because it made me think.
Well, we're limited in how we can perceive beings from other dimensions. They have the advantage generally. So we're kind of limited to our, in a remote viewing, they call it a Rolodex. So a Rolodex of experience that you and I have had. So when we're trying to categorize something, we look at this Rolodex, this file folder, and see if it's in there. And if it's in there, we give it a name. And if it's not, we don't know what to call it. But your experiences with the blackness, the drop in temperature, the missing time, these are all classic parts of the puzzle, right?
Yes. Well, there's one being like Angie, the female Nordic. When I counted, was 5 years old. When she came into my room, it'd be like the wall, like in front of me, like when I was lying down, like at the different end from where the grays came in. There's a window, and I remember first night she came, I heard tapping on my window, and I looked, and there's a woman outside my window. And like I said, we live in a 2-story building. It's like, how is there a woman in my window? And next thing I knew, she walks right in through the window and the brick wall, no problem. And she came over to me, and the wall did not turn black. It looked the same. It had no black or any temperature change or the room getting darker. It was totally different. And she walked right in, and she knew my name. It's like, how does this woman know my name? She knew everything about me, everything about the grays, everything. My mom. And she started talking with me, and she's sitting alongside with me on my bed when she was talking to me. And then she mentioned how she had something she wanted to show me. Mm-hmm. So she got up. She went towards the window, and that where she came in. I got up behind her. And as she stepped out through the wall, I started to do the same thing. I just stepped out, but I didn't go completely outside. I was terrified. It's like, okay, there's no wall here. And here I am looking down outside. Like, she floated down into my front lawn, no problem. And I was afraid because
of course.
It didn't feel like when the grays pulled me out. It's really aggressive, but hers, it's like she goes, Lisa, she says, don't be afraid. She said to me, you're not going to fall. So first thing I thought I was going to just fall down on the ground. That's what I was thinking. So I stepped out, and I can feel a very gentle energy around me, but it wasn't aggressive. Like, I still can move, no problem. And I just gently floated right down the ground in front of her. And she's looking to the right. So I look to the right. I see nothing there. Nothing. I thought, what does she want to show me? What's she talking about? So I started to run forward towards the right where she's looking, but she took a hold of me, right? She says, you can't do that. You stay with me. And she took me by my hand, and we walked over. Next thing I know, I seen something like a blurry. Like, it's reflecting. It seemed like the ground, everything around was reflecting off it, funny somehow. And as I stepped closer to it, like, wow, I can see a triangle-shaped ship sitting there, and it's like looking to a mirror. And it was fascinating, but it was floating, and it had no landing gear. She actually let me go underneath it. Look underneath it, and there's no landing gear, had no wheels. And I thought, how's this thing floating like this? And I just noticed like a teardrop piece underneath it, in the middle of it. I'm not sure what that was. It was so smooth. It's just very reflective metal. It felt warm. It was very smooth. And I noticed too, like, they had there's a triangle shape. There's another piece on top and back that was smaller, triangle shape on top of it. And she let me walk around it. I could see her reflection in it. It was really neat. And she had me walk up to the front, and it's so pointed at the front, like when I say triangle, it's more like a wedge shaped triangle. You know what I mean? It's like a piece of pie, and it's really pointed at the front. And it just felt like it was so sharp. And it wasn't, but it had that look. And then she took me by the hand again, and we floated on top, a smaller piece. And I remember some nights when I get on top of her ship before you go in, it was the neatest thing. It's like on top, you can see the moon flicking off it, the clouds. Oh, I still remember that clear as anything. It was amazing seeing that. And how we got in. When I first looked at this, looked like a piece of glass. Like, how you get into this thing? Like, there's no door. And even outside, I couldn't even see the windows. The windows were not visible to the eye. It's just like looking at a thing of glass, your ship. So, it's like you take a rock, a pebble, and you drop it in the water. It breaks up like a circle, you know what I mean? That's how ripples. Ripples. Yeah, that's how her ship opened. The same way. It would be a ripple. It would start from the middle and ripple right open. It was neat. And I can see that it was white, like nice bright white inside. So she took me in. I went in first. There's a middle piece there in the middle. I thought, oh, maybe I can sit here. But she goes in, she says, no, Lisa, you got to go over to the right seat. So I did. I sat there and she sat down. And when the door closed, it looked up. It was weird. It was like on the ceiling. Like it had no way there was a door in there. It's just like magic. It just, you know what I mean? Just rippled open.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there. The seats slid forward, seemed to move forward by themselves. So I was sitting furthermore in the ship there, and I looked out the window. I said, oh my word, I can see the houses beside us. I can see the houses in front of us. Like you can see. Nice sized windows. And we're sitting there talking. Right? And her ship first started up. You don't hear any engines. You feel no movement. I was talking to her. We say no, looked out the window and everything was going so quick underneath us. It's just like a blur, like a streak underneath us. It's going that fast. And you felt no movement whatsoever. You weren't strapped in anyway. And her ship, inside her ship, I noticed like there's no steering wheel or any steps or any buttons or anything there at all. All in her ship was on my side in front of me. It's like a round ball. That was in front of me. And on her side, she has something like a little thing there, not much, like a screen or something, but it was really different what we have. And that was it.
Like a little tablet or something?
Yeah, like a sitting up.
Yeah.
Not very big, small. And just a middle piece. And I had like symbols on it. And you feel they're upraised too. I remember that's like when I first got on the ship, I didn't notice that till later. I put my hand on a middle piece and I can feel like raised symbols on it. It was interesting.
Like beveled, as if you could feel it with your hand and you didn't have to see it.
And it's going like in columns, like, you know what I mean? Like there's like a lines going up and down on it. It's like symbols going down like in between those lines. It's like in columns. It's like that. It's interesting.
Like hieroglyphs.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's interesting. Like one time I had a regression done with Lesley and I found a picture. It was very similar, very close to it. Her writing was, and she told me it looked like ancient Nordic, and I found that interesting.
Hey, don't you find it interesting, Lisa, that they do seem to know about us at times, about our lives. They seem to know our names. They seem to understand that there's something we're supposed to be doing, even when we don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like with me, when Angie came to me, I was having horrible problems with my experiences. I was not doing very well with them. So was that first I thought, is that the purpose why I was seeing her? Like, is there more than that in there? I really don't know. I never thought of it being that way. Like as a child, seeing different beings and doing all this stuff, to me, it was like a regular thing for me. And she did so much for me. Like she took me in her ship multiple times. She took me up in space. She took me right around the Earth. It's quite a sight to see. It is. And she took me around the moon a few times. And then she took me out as far as to Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, Jupiter, and that was it. And after that, she took me out further in space. I mean, I'm not sure how far it was. I don't know, but she took me to this, I believe it's her mothership. It was huge. It was like another triangle. And you went in it the same way, the ripple. And it was interesting because you see on science fiction shows, the door opens up really, really wide. Hers didn't do that. It only opens up to the size of the ship. Since hers was only a small ship for two, it only opened up big enough for her ship to go into. It was interesting.
They speculate that a lot of this stuff in other dimensions that we try to perceive and make sense of, because we can only make sense of 4 dimensions. We don't have the advantage they have. They say it's all comprised of wave forms, so that this kind of ripple or shimmering, if you want to call it that, is maybe their way of manipulating matter.
Yeah, like it's interesting. Like I'm an experiencer. I haven't really looked into other people's stories. I never watched anything on TV or read books. I didn't really start, like, when people start talking about other stuff, I didn't know what they meant. Like I said, I don't know anything about that. I never knew what a Palladian or Nordic was till I had Lesley regress me.
Mm-hmm.
Palladian, and I said, I'm going to look them up online for the heck of it. And I was blown away how much they look like Angie, especially like she had the V-neck opening on her collar, and I seen some planes like that. I thought, old pictures. I thought, oh wow, it just fascinated me. See, I never knew, and that's the thing. I never knew anything about that stuff at all till I started seeing Lesley. Like I told people, I never knew much about other people's experiences because I never did read, because I couldn't do it. I just couldn't read them.
You seem to have experiences like I did from childhood forward, and maybe our stories are similar. When I went to see Lesley, it wasn't to uncover memories I didn't know about, because I didn't know about them. I went to see her because I had some experiences I couldn't explain. And so if you can talk about it a little bit, I certainly can too. My decision to see a registered hypnotherapist, somebody who was compassionate, somebody who didn't lead you, was because I'd reached the end of my wits. That was just me. It's like I was really getting frustrated. And so I went to see Lesley Mitchell Clark because I thought, I want to explain a couple of things I've been through. And then, so those were consciously recalled. And then through hypnosis, a heck of a lot more came forward. So am I right in saying that the experience you were just describing was consciously recalled? Or was this through hypnosis, this one?
Mm. Well, Lesley told me something I wasn't expecting. She goes, you're rare. I remember everything I remember is without hypnosis. I go in there and tell her everything, and I'm rare. I never knew that. I just thought, she told me that. Like I said, no, nothing about it. She says, you're unusual. She says, I remember everything. Everything I say is without hypnosis. Like I never told my mom what Angie looks like. She looks like, and I guess she's seen her. She told me this recently. She told me this is something new. I didn't get this in my book, probably book number 2, but she told me how she has a memory. Something made her get up. She got up and she made it as far as my bedroom door. And she never seen a woman standing there. And I had my back face my mom, so I was going towards Angie, and Angie was standing there looking at her. Not aggressive. She felt very peaceful and calm. But my mom couldn't do anything. She couldn't stop her from taking me out.
Frozen, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she was still helpless. But she described to me in full detail what Angie looks like.
So it's amazing that
something about her eyes. She got everything right. Everything.
It's because she was, I think, and I've seen this with my own partner laying in the same bed. My partner was switched off. Switched off from any action, not switched off from perceiving, but switched off from being able to do any action. And in my own case, my partner remembered it. It's like, what happened? It's like, wow, let me tell you what happened to me. So your mom was standing up, though, when this happened, right? And she was sort of like, everything that's going to play out is going to happen.
Yeah. Exactly. But she doesn't like talking about it. She said she waited for us to tell me that. It just bothers her how she couldn't do anything. I said, Mom, that's just the way it is, apparently.
Yeah.
It's just the way. And my sister, I didn't know, I guess at the time, like I did have a memory once. And she came, and my sister woke up. Okay. Mm-hmm. And I was falling behind Angie, and my sister was down at the end of the wall there, other end there in the corner there. And I could see a dark figure moving from my right side. And I turned my head. I said, oh no. I said, Angie, I said, my sister's up. She's going to see what's going on. And Angie said, don't worry about it. Just come with me. Don't worry about it. She says, just come with me. She won't remember. It'll just be a dream. That's what she told me. And I stepped up. She told me not to look behind me when I got outside, but I can feel my sister just looking down at us. I knew she was watching us. And I never knew at the time, but sometimes my mom should tuck my sister in bed, right? And she remembers very clearly. Again, I never told my sister. Angie looks like my mom never said anything to my sister about it. And my sister described in full detail the woman standing in the window. What she looked like. My sister seen her in the window.
You don't think your sister or your mom are involved? They're only witnesses?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Like, I remember, like, her ship was only enough for 2 people. But I think it's just because they're in the room. It's just inevitable. It's just going to happen sometime. I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
I suspect one or more members of my family have been involved, but they have no memory of it. They just, the way they speak periodically says to me, that's odd that you would say this thing or that thing. But certainly, yeah, if others are not needed, they're switched off, or they're almost like props.
Yeah. But yeah, like that could have been, I think that, and the way I find good about it is just like it gives you more credibility. Like, like they seem the same person you have, what I'm saying? It helps that way. Yeah. It really helps that way.
So you've, at this point, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've written a second book, or you're working on it?
I'm still working on it. I'm halfway through it right now. I've actually written down more than I thought I was. But I may be passing it in end of this year to be published, or early next year in there. But I've written down more than I thought. After I first passed my first book into Anna, have a better look after it. I was still writing things down. I was still continuing it. And I've done it ever since then. And there's quite a bit in there. more than
So
five.
just for our audience sake, Anna, my partner, owns Prometheia Press, and she started out with me, I think, by publishing my first book, and then did my second book. And I don't know if I'm like you, Lisa, or not. I didn't think I'd do a second book, and so within months of doing the first book, I thought I've got to keep writing. I feel compelled. So can you tell our audience, and you can say this later, the name of your first book and how they can get it?
Okay, sure. The name of my first book is Living in Two Worlds, a true account of alien encounters. And it's available on Amazon. And I had a lot of people say this, typed in Living in Two Worlds. Make sure you type out the full name, because you type in Living in Two Worlds, you're not going to find it. People have done it. So it's Living in Two Worlds, a true account of alien encounters. It's available on Amazon. Yeah.
And so it can be downloaded, or can they also order hard copy?
Yeah, both.
Excellent. Yeah, that's the way Amazon normally works. So that's a good point too, Lisa, for if there's anyone watching us right now, whenever this airs, and saying, I've got a story to tell, you can go the route of self-publishing. It's not going to break the bank.
Okay.
And we've got to, you probably feel the same way, we've got to get our story out.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, I believe, and I try to encourage other people too, right, to do the same thing, because we need to get more out there, a lot more. I mean, this is my opinion, but I think us experiencers are the disclosure, and I really do believe if enough of us get out there and start talking, it is hard. It is. I mean, it is hard at first. I mean, at first, like my mom's the one that got me to write my book. And first of all, she says, Lisa, you should start writing all your stuff down, since your childhood to today. I said, okay. So a couple months later, I told her I was doing that. She goes, oh, you should have it published as a book. And I said, Mom, I said, I don't know. I'm not too sure with that one. It terrified it terrified me, and I got done. And it feels good having it done. I mean, like the book's not doing too bad, but in Canada, in the top 100 for quite a while now. And so
Amazing.
I'm happy with that. I mean, like I do interviews. I've done the session, my ninth one I did so far. And, I don't mind that. It is hard at first, I'll be honest, but after a while, like I met a lot of great people on Von Beautiful Man and other realms. And I made a friend with Terry Lovelace. And, you do meet a lot of great people. There's, and I find when you talk about it, it's like a lift. I don't know about you, but it's a lift for me. Like you do have people that you can talk to, like other experiences, like I spoke with you as well. And it really feels great to have someone to talk to. It really does, because you have people that understand. And, I find just giving it to myself, being myself is hard. It was brutal. That's what made me go to Lesley. But once you start talking about it, it's actually healthier that way, I find.
I had the advice of another experiencer, a pretty famous one, Randy Kramer, Captain K, yes. who said to me at one point offline, if you out yourself, if you start to get out there, it'll be the greatest thing you could ever do. And I thought, why? Because I'll be fired, because I'll lose friends and family. And so, no, I never got fired, but I have protection in place. So that's a good thing. But yes. as far as actually coming out and starting to talk about it, there's a need. There's probably someone watching us right now that thinks, I don't know how to put my left foot in front of my right foot. I don't know where to start. And I don't know about you, Lisa, but I started out by telling one person, that was my ex-wife. Then I started out by telling a couple other people. And finally, it's like, let's just go for broke. And so I started out very slowly and very reluctantly. So how about you?
Well, with me, like both my parents knew that I was suffering through depression, and once in a while they mentioned how I was like, in what could it? Do you know why you acted that way? And I was really reluctant at first. Now I had some really depression issues, and so the first one I found out was my mom. I told her. At first, she wasn't too sure how to handle it.
Oh,
And it shocked her. It shocked my dad. Oh, terrible. Almost brought him to tears. And they believed me though. But they weren't expecting me to say that. That it would be the reason for it, because they remember I had terrible fear of the dark. I would wake up crying. I'd get in the morning, I'd be really exhausted because I had an experience that night. I was just tired. And they just didn't know what's going on. Then I started getting really bad. I didn't want to eat. I was ignoring friends, ignoring family. I was keeping to myself. And they didn't know what's going on. Like, they just thought I was having terrible nightmares. They could tell me it's just bad dreams. And I'd go to the field, I'd disappear for hours, and I didn't know why. I just had no one to talk to. And I just fell in this deep depression. Yeah. And I just didn't know why.
we think we're alone. I know I've had a large number of people over the years come up to me and say, I couldn't tell anyone else about this. And it's like, well, I was in the same position and I just started. But at first you feel like I must be unwell. This is one of the things that went through my mind. Like, I'm not stable. I'm not mentally balanced. And as it turns out, when you go through hypnosis, it accesses memory and it does not access imagination. And so there's a great deal of validation if you feel you have to take that step to hypnosis. And it's not, I don't know how you found it. I didn't find it dangerous. When I went to Lesley, I did over 30 sessions over 5 years. And I would say not even 10% of them were frightening, maybe 1%. And at that point, a skilled hypnotherapist will take you out of it, will take you to third person.
Yes.
And yeah, you don't have to suffer through this. So for me, the very first, second sessions I had convinced me that this was authentic. My worry was that it was not real. So I don't know how you got to the point of hypnosis, but our audience might be interested in that.
Oh, how I got in touch with Lesley is like, I went online. I found the ERT done by, I guess, Kathy Martin used to run that.
Oh, yeah.
And I filled one in. I think until after I heard back from them. They said, I gave them where I live in that location and everything, right? So they're able to get me an investigator through MUFON. That's how I met Brian Stacy. That's how I know him. And I talked to him for a bit, and then he contacted Lesley. So that's how I managed to get in contact with Lesley, is through Ryan. And we spoke 3 times on the phone before I seen her. So I went down from Windsor to Toronto. And I was down there for a day and I seen her. So at first I was nervous, but I talked with her for a bit. She explained it to me and she put me under. It's like she said, like, when she does it, like with me, she seen I was getting nervous. She goes, okay, you're not going to feel any pain. You just be like, you're just there watching the whole thing. And that really helped a lot. Because some of mine, unfortunately, was unpleasant. So terrifying. But Angie, no, she's a trick opposite. She's the opposite. But to be honest, I think the only reason why I made through with this because of her. She helped me, lift me out of this a lot as a child. She really helped me keep going because my mom said, you weren't in a good state. So I said, I didn't want to eat. I couldn't sleep. It's terrifying to go to bed.
I
Yeah.
get that.
I
I've got
think-
that.
I still have Fear the Dark today.
Yeah, you're probably like me. I still have, and it doesn't happen often, an occasional night where I think they're here. And I think if I close my eyes, I'll go to sleep. And between closing my eyes and going to sleep, they're going to come get me. And I try not to be paranoid about it, which I'm not. But I was like you, not as a child, but later in life, where I was terrified to go to sleep. So I did my best not to do that. And even living with my wife at the time, and she knew what was going on. It's like, well, she can't help me. Nobody can help me. If they want to come see me, they're going to come see me, period.
Yeah. No, that's just it. Like, you want to know how my husband found out an experiencer? Like I said, when I contact ERT and Ryan Stacy, he actually found the emails.
Oh, is that so, eh?
Yeah, he didn't say anything. Like sometimes you come down there on the computer and just sometimes there's something on the email I mess, right? So he goes on there, and that's how he found out. And one day I mentioned it to him. He goes, "Oh, by the way, I know about that stuff. I've seen your emails on the computer downstairs." And that was it. Like unfortunately, he has seen me at night, terrified, jumpy. And he's seen some pretty horrible markings on my body, on my legs, bruises and that. He has seen. And they weren't like a normal bruise. They're different. Like they had like a puncture mark in them, like something scraped, sharp, went into my skin.
Scooped.
Seen that, yeah. And he goes, "How are you getting those?" And I thought, this is in Winnipeg. And it's like, what do you tell? What do you tell him? And it's really weird to have one on one leg and it would be on the other leg, exact same spot. Yeah, I have them like that sometimes in the exact same area.
So a lot of people think just one thing, that all aliens or any aliens visiting us are bad, and they all do exploratory surgery, and that's not universally true. But you're one of the people I know that gets more physical manifestations. I've only had a handful. I don't know if I've ever had scoop marks. I've had stuff like I felt it was branding me almost, and so I've had little triangles appear on various parts of my body, and I'll wake up with them. But I don't recall scoop marks. I don't recall surgery. But stuff like that happens, and I think these creatures are simply curious about us.
Yes, I'm too curious, but to me, like aliens are like us. You got the good and the bad.
Yeah,
That's the way I see it. Like I know people rather just believe in all good aliens, but I guess it depends on the person. Like who are they seeing in that? But I have some on there can be really rough. They can be, and I remember one experience I had. I was lying in bed, like I'm right by my closet, and I'm lying on my right side, and I felt presence behind me, and I rolled around, facing my closet, my arms, I stretched them out, and they're hanging over the edge of the bed, and I seen a male figure there, and he grabs me right arm, like really hard. And that's all I remember. And I woke up next day, and I had a fingerprint bruise right on my arm.
I know another person that wakes up with bruises.
It was frightening. It really is.
But that's not to say that you haven't had some beneficial experiences, or you haven't had your mind expanded as well.
Like I never told Lesley this, but lately I've been having dreams about being Angie and that, but they're more like a psychic, not physical. But I've been doing that a lot lately, and I've been doing a lot.
You keep a journal of these things?
I've been writing stuff down, yes.
I had to do that because I'd wake up sometimes and think, okay, here are the 5 reasons that was not a dream. And so if it was not a dream, then what's left might be a genuine experience. So I've been journalizing for many, many years.
Yes, I've been, when I start, I've been writing my journal 2.5 years before I pass in to be published. So maybe 3, 4 years in there. 3 years, maybe? Yeah, 3 years. 2.5. Time flies. Yeah. So
Gosh,
this may be the last one about my experiences I write. I'll see. It's more like a continuation, from
that's what I said about my second book. It's probably going to be the last one I write about this. But then, as you know, and as our audience should know, not that they're all stupendously awful, but experiencers never stop having experiences.
No, I heard it's a lifelong thing. Maybe it is for some people. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Another thing too, I noticed, Lesley, to something was interesting. I was in my she told me that I can't remember is that what age I was at, but she told me it's at the right age when people start talking about their experiences. She says, you're at that age, she says, people start remembering and they come in to me and start, and I found that interesting. When she said that to me. I can't remember
what age range would that be?
Right now I'm 56, so I knew her. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I started I didn't start talking about it, but in my 40s, it was really in my consciousness, and probably 50-ish. Yeah, I was real interested in following it up and exploring it.
Yeah, because I found that interesting. So like some people, it's been like that for them, and I found that. I never mentioned in my book, some of it's personal, but Angie gave me some predictions that actually happened. It has to do with family.
Oh.
And they actually happened. Yeah.
Predicted it?
Yeah, she told me I was a little girl. And
wow.
Apparently I have this sister. She wants nothing to do with us. She's not really good with us. And she's seen that when I was a little girl. She told me all about that.
And you're just remembering it now because it's come to pass, right?
Oh, no, actually, no, for a while now.
Oh, for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
I found, and I'm just glancing at the time, believe it or not. My God, we've been at this for a while. Anyway, just glancing at the time, that overall for me, and I don't know if you would say this about you, this has been one of the more positive, forward-moving things I've ever gone through, and I know I'm going to keep going through it. And that caused me to do books, and like you, it caused me to do interviews and stuff like that. But would you say this has caused anything positive in your life? Any increased, how would I put this, abilities or skills of any kind?
Not I'm aware of, not really. Like I always did have some psychic abilities. I dealt with drawing. But if anything really increased, I haven't really noticed. Like I noticed I've been having this paranormal activity going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been having a lot of that with me going on. And I reached out to other people, and apparently it's common. It's nothing unusual. But I've been having weird stuff. It's just, oh my Lord. One of the craziest things happened. My son and I were sitting upstairs in the living room. And we had like stairs going down to our front door there, right? And we had the front door there, and we have the garage door there. My son and I were sitting there talking, and there's no one down there. Our garage door just started turning and turning, and someone's trying to go in or out. It's turning really crazy, so violently. I had that happen once.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, what the heck? It's like, oh man, and you hear somebody moving around downstairs, sighing, whatever, and there's no one down there. I'll go on it for an hour or so. It's crazy what I've been hearing. And a couple of weeks ago, even that, one time I went my room, my bedroom, we had a washroom in there. And I heard so I thought, well, my husband must be in there. Like the door wasn't open all the way, like halfway open. And I thought maybe he's behind the door, maybe come out of the shower or something. So I started to go in. I heard another weird noise. Thump, thump. And then I heard a really loud scratch going across my bathroom door. And there's nobody in there. And I thought, what the heck?
And this is something that appeared in waking consciousness. So some of our viewers might be thinking, oh, yeah, they fall asleep, they have a dream, they have hallucinations. It's like, no, some of this happens totally in our waking conscious states, right?
This is in the afternoon when this happened.
Right.
Oh, it's just like, I don't know. In the evening, my son, I heard that. I know what you mean, though. It's just like, at first I was concerned because, and the weird thing too, I even talked to other experiencers about it. Terry Loveless, said to me, this happens when they do an interview. And I said, oh my Lord, they're right. They trigger after
I think so.
Before one comes up, I'm talking about it, but after that, they just flare. And
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I absolutely do. So I'm just keep my eye on the clock. We have to wind down, but this looks like it's going to be a series of conversations. Hopefully the next time with Lesley Mitchell Clark, who couldn't be here tonight. I'm trying to deal with a family emergency, but our guest tonight, or today, or this morning, I don't know when you're watching this, folks, is Lisa Savoy, an abductee, an experiencer, a writer, and someone who's got just drop dead sober, interesting experiences to tell. And just to say to you out there, if something like this happens to you and you want to pursue it, there's people around that can help you. We can at least start a conversation with you. So, Lisa, before we wind down totally and say goodnight, can you tell folks, once again, the name of your first book, where to get a hold of it, and if possible, how to get a hold of you? But if you don't say that, that's cool.
Okay. Well, the title of my book is Living in Two Worlds, A True Account of Alien Encounters. It's available on Amazon in paperback and as well as Kindle. And no, I did not leave any info for people to contact me. So
that's fine. But for folks that are interested, depending on Lisa's comfort level, we have publishers, we have myself. But just being on the show is a huge, brave, courageous move. And you've done many shows. And so we all have our comfort levels. We're all people. We don't advertise our email routinely. I have private email I never talk about. So that's fully respected. So Lisa, until next time, and I can see 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many shows. It's kind of like you're probably a lot like me. Once people start watching these shows, they'll call you up and say, wow, I'd like to have you on my show. I mean, I'm doing another show next week.
yes.
So yeah, so this happens a lot to me. And I think really, I feel I'm duty bound that this is one of the things I'm supposed to be doing. Now that I've got this knowledge, now that I've integrated it in me, I'm supposed to be as much as possible sharing it. And that's what I do. And so I greatly appreciate, as Lesley does, that you're putting yourself out there. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show. And yes, I can be on sometime in the future. I'd like to come back and be on your show again.
And we would totally love to have you again. I guess then it would be the two of us on the show, which is normal. So I'm going to wind down, and then if you can stay on the line for one moment after I stop the recording, that would be great. For Contact TV, for Lesley Mitchell-Clark, myself, Wes Roberts. Thank you for watching. If you're interested in this world, just reach out to Lesley or myself, Lesley at Lightwork Hypnosis, Wes at wesgroberts.com. And until then, just to say, we're not alone.
Thank you for watching Contact TV.
We would like to thank our generous sponsors, Lightwork Hypnosis, Euphoria and the Euphoria Chronicles, Earth Mystery News, Conspiracy Culture Books, MUFON Canada, Free Experiencers, the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation for Research into Extraterrestrial Encounters, and Variety Store Productions.
For guest booking information, please email Wes Roberts at producer@contacttv.ca. And don't forget to join us on Facebook and Twitter.